I'll quickly first give a brief intro about myself, and then this entire podcast is for you. So, a quick intro about me. Among the site, I'm a machine learning engineer in the US. I came to US in 2019 for masters, and since 2021, have been working in big tech. Initially, I worked at Amazon, and currently I've been working at TikTok for last 2.5, 3 years. I'm also passionate about study abroad and everything related to legal immigration, and I aim to help current immigrants and upcoming immigrants through my Umang Abroad page on IG and through upcoming study abroad courses, and especially through these valuable podcasts that will go on YouTube. With that, I want to just get started. So, Sid, tell me, where are you from and how long have you been in the US?
Hey Umang and hey everybody. My name is Sid Saraswati. I'm from Mumbai, India, and I came here for my master's, like most of you who are going to be here. I went to RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology in 2010. And I've been in the East Coast thereafter, just been Boston, New York for last 15 years.
Nice. Before you started your own company, because you have founded your own company in H1B, where did you work and what was your position?
I got my master's in computer science from RIT 2012. And a good thing about Rochester Institute of Technology and few other colleges, for people who are aspiring to come over here is make sure they have a good co-op programs. Because through RIT, after I would say year one, I got two co-op blocks, which is 3 month each. So about a 6 to 8 month internship. And then I got back to school 2011, and then I finished my, all the credits. And that co-op experience was invaluable to get my first job, right? That's just a way to talk about what you have done, the way to speak about your skills. It teaches you a lot about what people want to hear in a way. So my first job was actually in Boston, and that's what made me move to Boston. It was a gaming company called Vivox. They were building a PlayStation 3 and a Xbox middleware software.
Okay. And okay, so this was your first and last job before you switched on to your own companies.
No, so Vivox went on for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was very early stage startup, and it was also interesting because I really liked the job. I wanted to be, a game programmer,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my one of the dilemmas I had when I got my H-1B from them was, hey, should I join a big company, the stability of H-1B, or should I join this like 5% startup that is, we don't know if they had never had done an H-1B before mine. So, I had a really very early experiment with like just taking the risks of H-1B and trying out different things. But I did VWalks, then I joined a different Boston startup, Cogito. It was from the AI space and was a spun out of MIT to do emotional AI, depression detection, and some cool sentiment analysis. Then I moved to New York to work for a real estate company called Compass, which
Mm-hmm.
is one of the largest brokerage now in US in terms of volume. Then I did another startup called Jokr, which is a 15-minute grocery delivery, which I think is very
Okay.
popular in India now.
Mm-hmm.
But Jokr was, in New York is where it all started. There were like 15 companies during the pandemic that started doing this rapid 15-minute delivery of,
Mm-hmm.
if you order ice cream, you get it before it melts. So I did that. And during that time, the pandemic is what gave me the opportunity to think about, sit at home to try to do something myself and figure out a way that, hey, can I build something on the side? And if I
Mm-hmm.
can, you had some time in your hand, and that really kickstarted this process of thinking really, really hard about, okay, how do I do this exit of starting my own company and
Mm-hmm.
figuring a way out to get some revenue in, supporting my salary, and just my this entity started.
Nice. So, since you started your company in the AI space, I want to learn, and this is also a question for like a lot of like people who are not in the AI space. How did you get into AI?
Well, if your background right now is in computer science, I don't think you can avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be exposed to it. But early on, I think AI was always hyped.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I remember, even back in 2014, 2015, we were talking about AI like it's the next big thing in computer science, and everybody wanted to do it. Deep learning came out in 2010 with Google's papers, and so it was always a big thing, and everybody wanted to do it. Now it's a little bit more mainstream to the point where Wall Street and creatives and interior designers want to do AI as well. So that's shifted.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you were a computer science person 15 years ago, you would want to do data science. Big data was a big deal, if you remember, just like 5, 10 years ago. So it keeps shifting, big data, AI, But to get into it, you have to find, not just the right company, the right team. I'm actually curious about you too, Mang. You work for TikTok, so
Mhm.
you have to share at some point what AI algorithms and how they work.
Sure. I mean, I work in the risk space. So basically, we detect like bad advertisers on the TikTok platform. And also, like, since I've been like now moved to the TikTok, like US entity, so we basically work in the space of identifying like bad users on the platform. And we use all kinds of like different AI models, which include like building from XGBoost based models to deep neural network models. And we have been trying with like LLM based models. So it's a whole bunch of like different models that we use to deliver solutions for our product. So you can imagine, let's say like there's a group activity of some bad like actors. Let's say they are like posting similar sort of like bad content. So we will try to detect them as groups using ML and try to like enforce any kind of like suspensions or like any other kinds of like enforcements on them. My
Very cool.
work as a machine learning engineer is, yeah, it involves building models, but it's not just like innovating a lot of like models from scratch. It's using the industry level models and putting them into the product solutions that we work on. So yeah.
I mean, TikTok, I mean, in terms of volume, there's so many videos being uploaded. I cannot imagine this problem being solved without AI, right? There's no way a human can do it.
Yes, and also the thing is like these bad actors, they also keep on changing their behaviors. Let's say like we build some solutions to identify them through like one scenario, but then they will like find some another ways to like bypass the platform. And then we have to build that. So it's chasing them and then they are like changing these things. So it's like that sort of situation in the risk space. But in the past, I've also worked in the forecasting space as well, where I use a lot of like deep neural network based like LSTM kind of models for forecasting predictions in Amazon. But yeah, so I consider myself as a generalist MLE because I've worked on time series forecasting, worked on classical ML, deep neural networks, and everything. So I do not like specialize in a particular scenario, I would say. And I feel like I'm comfortable. I love to work on products, love to solve the problems, whatever solution it takes to get there. That is like, I love to work in that.
Amazing. I'm curious in your industry, so is this your day-to-day involves like Python coding?
So my day-to-day tech stack as a machine learning engineer involves working in Python, SQL, and a lot
Mm,
of like cloud-based AI services, which are like in-house for ByteDance or TikTok. Let's say like parallel would be AWS or Azure. So we have like an in-house tool for all of that. But mainly the languages that are like Python, SQL, and sometimes for online deployment, it's Golang. That
gotcha.
is the stack that I work in. And then there's obviously a lot of libraries like PyTorch, TensorFlow, Pandas, NumPy, Scikit-learn, and others.
Amazing, the world,
Yeah.
it just, those are the standards. So being that you are and that the epicenter of,
hmm
the
Yeah, I mean, since you're also building these AI apps, which is in the epicenter as well, which is like you have built these company trial and error, and on that you have built two apps, which is Renovate AI, and I think the other one is Vox AI or something,
Box
Voice AI.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to understand, like, from your computer science background, how did you end up creating these AI-based like companies,
Mm,
AI-based apps? So what was that journey like? If you can just explain that. If let's say someone who is right now studying in computer science and wants to do the similar thing, how should they go about it?
yeah, that's a good question. And to build a business, right, to make profits from a product that you're building, it has
Mm-hmm.
to deliver value. Your tech stack doesn't matter. Nobody cares about AI unless it solves a problem. There are a few things I learned about business that helped, but that's the short answer. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew a particular niche, which is real estate. I had worked with a lot of real estate agents, and virtual staging was the biggest problem for them, which is, they have listings in New York and they are these massive amazing penthouses or other areas, and to stage that listing, which is an empty room, they would hire somebody which will photoshop furniture in them, and that will cost them, 100 $150 for a single image. Iterating on them is very hard. So what if you don't like an staged image, so you got to iterate on them. But the whole time, money, and the speed was all just very slow. When I think Stable Diffusion came out in
Mm.
2021, this is just before ChatGPT and DALI came out.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it that you could take text and turn that into really good pixel perfect images. And
Mm-hmm.
and the application of that in staging was just like, oh my God, what if you take an empty image of a room and what if you stage it with furniture? I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
just value for a lot of people, interior
Mhm.
designers, virtual staging people, apartment builders, construction. So that was the idea, the seed of idea is we have a
Mhm.
value here, and then how can we build a product out of it? And there's a
Mhm.
whole story about, I built a web app, then I built a mobile app, and how
Mhm.
did I iterate really fast to get to a product market fit?
That's amazing. So I want to understand, so what is the status of your current company? Like you can talk about both of these different apps. Like are they like generating revenue at this point? And if you want to like share some more details regarding the co-founders and how did you get started with like creating this company?
Yeah, so the co-founder of my company is somebody I worked with in my
Mhm.
previous job. So he and I completely own the business and I bootstrapped it. I
Mhm.
put my money in initially, I think 20, 50K or something, or 30K. And that was mostly for ads because we were not drawing salary out of it. I had a job, so that was paying for it while I was moonlighting, which is on the side coding. That's not illegal. You can always have a hobby project. You can do whatever you want with the time you want to do. So, being in COVID, working from home for the first time gave you the opportunity to actually,
Yeah.
try out a few other things. So, we were building it, trying out, what is this new AI models. And I mean, this was probably my fourth VC backed company where I was working. So, I did a lot, very high growth VC ventures and I knew what that looked like. But I was very curious about the indie hacker community as well, which is on Twitter, which is all about building in public, which is about bootstrapping a business and getting it profitable and like making 100K MRR or some number that makes it self-sustaining to a level, and then you build a new one, then you build a new one, then you build a new one. So I wanted to accomplish that. So Renovate AI, we started, let's say November 2022, started with a website. My goal was to get 10 people to pay for it, to prove that this will work. How do you get 10 paying customers? You have to get in front of them. So in Boston, I figured out to go to an open house and just talk to agents. So agents do open houses, which is they show a listing. My friend had an open house, so I was like, "Hey, I'll come to your open house." And he had a lot of agents coming to his open house because he was trying to attract a lot of seller agents. So I went there with a laptop, literally talked to 15, 16 agents. Hey, I'm building this virtual staging software. Would you like it? How much would you pay for it? Does it make sense to you? Around January, we built a mobile app. I would say in April 2023, we were making, I don't know, 500 to 10,000 to $2,000. We got some people to pay for it in 3, 4 months. Like, yeah, finally, there's some traction. And I think by December, it was, 100K a month MRR,
Wow.
2023.
Mhm.
It took off once you hit that escape velocity, right? And put the money back into the ads, distribution, so figure out a way to get in front of people who have that problem of painting exterior, interior walls, staging the property. So, I mean, there's a method to the madness with apps, what you could do. So that's how we started, and the goal was to bootstrap it, make it profitable. And then you can turn into an app studio if that's your game, or you could raise money and laser focus into Renovate AI as your venture play. So there are two avenues after that. I decided that I was having too much fun to, go into a venture route and keep it profitable while figure out different ways to build our apps as well.
Nice. That is amazing. 100K like monthly is like amazing. How did you get that H1B for your own company? Because this is something that majority of people struggle. They feel like on H1B you can just do the primary job. They're not aware of starting their own company. And especially like they don't know about that entire process. If the company is very new, how do they prove it to the USCIS that it is a good company? So if you can talk about your experience and then in general experience as well, that'll be nice.
Yeah, so I have an entire community on
Mm-hmm.
this topic. We have this community because this topic is deep. It's full of lot of confusion. First thing to understand is anybody can start a company in the US despite your visa status. In fact, you don't even have to be in US to start a company in US, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can be a founder no matter where you are, have a Delaware C corp and start an entity. Then the question is, so then what do you want next, right? So when you're H1B, the problem you have is that your H1B stipulates that you can only take salary from an entity that sponsors your visa. So you're tied to a visa work. So that's the thing you have to figure out. Now that's a chicken and egg problem. right? Now I have an entity, okay, I became a founder. I cannot work for it until this company can afford my salary and
Mm-hmm.
sponsor my H-1B. But also, this company cannot afford my salary and sponsor my H-1B unless I work for it, because I need to work for it, right? So that chicken and egg is what confounds a lot of people. So the solution is that you can start a company, and that company doesn't really need you to get revenue all the time, right? You can be, an investor, a plain investor. If you have a co-founder who's working on it, you can support it, right? But you cannot draw salaries onto it on from that entity until you get your H-1B sponsored from it. So you start building it, right? Start supporting it, start figuring out what's going to happen. And then if you really need to hit few criterias now, it's become much easier this year compared to 2 years ago when I did it, which is you can now own 100% of the company, hire yourself as a senior software engineer. For example, I hired myself as a principal engineer for my company,
Mm-hmm.
as a job offer, right? And I did that because, hiring as a CEO, the salary would be very high, and I wanted to keep my salary lower, right? Because I can always make my salary higher. USCIS has no problem with that, but you cannot give a level wage of, let's say, 100K, and then tomorrow revenue is down and you cannot lower your salary. That requires refiling your H-1B. You want to be humble about your title, right? Just start working as a software engineer.
If you are the sole founder and you don't have anyone else, so you would have to be the CEO and you would have to be the senior software engineer. So in that
You don't
scenario,
have to be the CEO. So just
okay.
very clear on that. Now, there is no official definition of CEO, right? When you start an entity, the only requirement for a business is a president and a secretary. And they are not operational roles. Delaware C Corp, we fill a form, says, okay, who's the president, who's the secretary? I had a co-founder, and what I did is I had a plausible deniability. I was not sure, man, can I even be that? Well,
Mm-hmm.
the answer is yes, you can. Now you can. But if I was so unsure, I said, hey, you be the president and you be the secretary. So he was that, right? Now you have an entity. Okay. Um, you need an operator. And you're saying if you're a solo founder, but nobody stops you from hiring anybody in India or hiring anybody somewhere abroad to do the work, right? You can have board members. You could be investing in a company that your father wants to start in US, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say my father wants to start a software company. I say, yeah, I'll
Mm-hmm.
put 20K in. I'll support it as an
Mm-hmm.
investor, founder. And your brother, father, or sister, your friend can be running it, operating it.
Okay, that makes sense. So you can technically like use your family members or like anyone as on the board, and you yourself can have a lower title, which will not like ask you to like pay for more. So that can save you money on the wages side.
Yeah, from the H-1B perspective, Umang, it has to conform to the H-1B rules, which is you file your H-1B, which is say that, hey, this company is hiring an international talent, and
Mm-hmm.
that is the minimum wage is defined by USCIS. They say you have to pay minimum this salary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pay that salary. And that has to be also matching to your education, right? So if you did a
Mm-hmm.
master's in computer science, you want to hire that person as a software engineer, right? So
Correct.
it match that occupation.
That makes sense. And how did you convince the USCIS that your founding company can sponsor you via H-1B? Basically, did you already had some revenue from that company, or was it pre-revenue and you still got your H-1B on that?
So I can only speak about my experience, right? Just so you know, I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
So everybody beware, and I can connect you to an attorney if you need one, if you're there. And also, join the H-1B founders community if you are like deep into this area.
Yeah.
You're thinking about starting an entity, because many people have figured it out. Many people have very different circumstances. So it's so interesting about this is every situation is so different. But as far as convincing USCIS that a company can sponsor an H-1B is, and you can the business is legit. So you start with a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you have customers paying you, obviously that's amazing. So you show that, right? My app was getting paychecks from App Store. If you have anybody who's built any app, got any money from it, basically the money goes directly to your bank account and you get a financial statement. So you put that as evidence. Hey, look, this month there's revenue coming every month, right?
One question. So if you are, let's say you cannot technically work for that company before, right? Let's
Mhm.
say you are the sole founder and you also want that H-1B from that company. How can you show revenue before you like even start working for that company? That is the chicken and egg problem. How can we
It's
show
not.
revenue?
It's not. Company having revenue, you taking salary are two different things. If I'm an
Okay.
investor in a company, the company can have revenue. What has that to do with me working for it and not working for it, right? What I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
is that without an H-1B, you cannot draw salary from an entity,
Okay.
right? A business can have revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think
Yeah.
about it. Any business can have revenue, and that's like
Mm-hmm.
what America wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Businesses to create revenue because
Mm-hmm.
you will pay taxes on profits, right? And that's like a really, really good thing. If your business can generate revenue, it's like you're golden, right? Because you're making money. But can you draw salary as an income? No. You can draw profits as an investor, but that gets into accounting of, okay, how does a C corp work? How does LLC work? Now, I don't know if we want to go deep into the corporate
Yeah.
structure
Mm-hmm.
in this topic, but if today, tomorrow, Umang, you want to put 20K or 100K into my company,
Mm-hmm.
you can take that money out from my company as dividends, and that will be
Mm-hmm.
your passive income, right? Because you invested money, my company made profits, and now every end of the year we say we're going to share profits to our investors based on the contribution they have made, right? So you get some money back into your account, and that's passive income because you've done no
Mm-hmm.
work, but you've given money to me, and that's allowed on H-1B, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It's
Passive.
another way to say that is no different than, are you allowed to buy Apple stocks?
Yeah, we are allowed. Yeah.
So okay, so you're buying Apple stocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're investing in the company, right?
Yeah.
Then you get money back, you get dividends. There's nothing saying you're illegal, you cannot do that, just do your work on H-1B, right? So it's a
Mm-hmm.
similar thing. You can be an investor in a company.
Mm-hmm.
That company can make money, but you want
Yeah,
to
but
make
if,
have
if you are the one who was like building that product or like selling that product, but you technically are still not on that H1B yet. So that is the point that I'm
what do you
referring.
mean? What do you mean you are selling the product? What does that mean? Are you like
Let's say like
physically
you're
working
running
somewhere?
ads through that company or
So what does
and
it
you are
mean
the
you
sole
are running
founder.
ad? What does it
Sorry.
mean? Like, what does it mean that you are running ads? Like, is it, how do you know? Like, are you actually doing it? Then don't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have somebody do it.
Yeah, okay. I see your point. So like have someone else do all those things
Yeah.
and then you can show revenue on that company. Makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that makes total sense. Cool. And I want to ask you, what are like the overall like associated costs with starting the company or like running or maintaining the company in the US on a visa?
I started a Delaware C corporation. C corporations are an amazing thing, and there are books on it. I read five of them last year just to understand it. So,
Okay.
it's a deep topic, just, with taxes, kind of partnerships you have, the kind of co-founders you have, where you live in a state. So there's so many variables that defines how you want to have an entity.
Mm-hmm.
But my advice generally would be to start an LLC
Mm-hmm.
in the state you are in. In America, every state has its own law.
Yes.
And if you start a company somewhere else, like Delaware, like I did, you still have to come in. Like I'm in Massachusetts, I have to
Mm-hmm.
qualify as a foreign entity, and I've done some paperwork and I had to figure out where to pay the state tax and left and right and center, right? I wouldn't do that if I'm just doing a normal business. So the cost for that would be, it takes you $300 to start a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can hire an accountant. It's no big deal. Once you get a company, you get an EIN number, which is
Yeah.
your also known as your FEIN number, which is federal income tax number. Once you have an EIN number, that number can get you access to a lot of things. One of them is a business bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Then you open a business bank account, or you get Stripe, or you get payment processors, and a bunch of stuff you can do. And then you start taking income into your bank account. And if you do, I mean, all of that is free. Banks are free. If you hire a contractor internationally, right, there are not much compliance requirements for it. But if you hire a US person to work for you as a contract, you have to hit some compliance, checklist. So you can use things like Gusto for payroll, and it will charge. I mean, I use Gusto for the first 1 year. We were paying like $9 a month. We had
Okay.
one contractor in US.
Mm-hmm.
For international vendors, we had like a lot of, I hired a bunch of people in India or Philippines. I had like two, three people in Philippines for social media. we were paying through PayPal or Mercury, right? As long as you have the receipts for your
Mm-hmm.
accounting, and then you have accounting software you need, right?
Yeah.
QuickBooks, or you can have Puzzle.io. They're new ones now. I
Mm-hmm.
use an AI-based one called Puzzle.io. Pretty cool. Categorizes your things. $50 a month, right? So
Mm-hmm.
overall, you'll pay about $500 to keep it running, and then you pay taxes on it if you have profits. Even if you don't have profits, you have to file your taxes, right? And hire a CPA to file your taxes. Just start an entity today. You do nothing on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will still charge you $100, $150, like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, just to file your empty tax return, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this cost that you'll have to pay.
Awesome. Thanks. These are like really good insights regarding starting the company. So I want to switch gears and still like ask you more about like H1B. So were you like kind of scared when you quit your previous H1B job? Because most of these people are comfortable in the H1B jobs and they are like basically scared in the sense like they will have to pay their own health insurance, all of these expenses will increase. So were you scared and like how did you take that leap towards creating this company and getting H1B through that?
What do you think?
I mean, it was risky for sure, but yeah.
I've been here 15 years now, right? So
Mhm.
2010, and I always wanted to be a founder, start a company. And around 2019, 2020, I got pretty frustrated that I was not able to do it because of H1B. So I started two paths. Path one for me was EB1A. Those who are familiar or not familiar with that, you need to get from H1B visa to green card. You need to leave the H1B visa and get into an immigrant visa, which is either an E visa, EB1, EB2, EB3, or EB5 or a few other things. But most of people who, if you are from India, you will do an EB2 visa, and EB2 has a wait list of 50 to 100 years or whatever they say now. So I've been on EB2 for a very long time. We knew that's not going to happen. So I pursued EB1 on the side, but I knew that was going to take a long time. And then I guess when you get too cornered and frustrated, you start figuring things out yourself. Other way to say that would be the H1B founders group I have. There are about 800, 900 people there in the group. I mean, Umang, you found me or we've touched base with you, but most people find that group because they're looking for some answers, right? They're searching LinkedIn. And I wrote a post a year and a half ago, a single article, people are able to find that and contact me about that information because they have these problems that nobody answers, right? All of those people, I think, are self-selected to answer your question. What made you start your own
Mhm.
business? It's
Yeah.
like one of those questions that you get a group of people and ask everybody. Just, I guess, immigration, the only thing I'll say is that immigration makes it doubly hard. Business is hard anyways. It's very difficult to build a profitable business. You add immigration on top of it, it makes it 10 times harder. But my advice to people, anybody who's close to it, who are in US right now, listening to this, would be to get started ASAP. Don't let that reason be the reason why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. That should not be
Mhm.
your reason. There are ways to do it, and I've done it. And that's why I wrote that article, that you can do all of those things on H1B. You don't even have to have a green card.
Awesome. And I honestly found you through just randomly searching on YouTube, and I was searching like some questions regarding like founding a company on H1B, and I'm also in that process.
Mm.
So, and then I encountered your video, which was just had like less than 10 views. A full YouTube video had less than 10 views, and it was so valuable. I was surprised, like, why are like people, why this guy doesn't have a lot of like subscribers, or like why were there so less views? I was like, yeah, I definitely need to connect with him and like also like do a podcast with him. So, yeah.
Because I'm not an influencer like you. But people find it. You see how you found it, right? So that's
Hmm.
the thing about these things is, I mean, it's not something to market, right? So I'm not selling a product, right? This is, and I did the video and I'm doing this podcast for the same reason, right? I feel when you go search this information in forums, and that was my biggest problem, the amount of negativity, the amount of nonsensical
Yes.
crap that's there, it's unbelievable. I read those things like people are just saying the question is, how do I go to Dubai from US? And the answer is you'll get deported in Afghanistan. What are you talking about? What are you saying? None of that correlates to anything. So these are very
Hmm.
specific problems. So I would
Hmm.
suggest anybody who is listening to forums, don't find people who have been in similar situation as yourself. Not even lawyers. Lawyers are not good either. Not every lawyer is smart enough, by the way. They're
Hmm.
same as, you're an engineer, right? How many engineers are good among out of 10 who can really code,
Less than two.
right? And somehow we forget that the same thing applies for lawyers and doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somehow, I was the same person. I thought, oh, if a lawyer told me this is true, it must be true.
Mm.
They don't, they know what they know. It's like, so you have to figure out from people who have done this, figure out the law, get a good lawyer, just like get a good doctor, find a good mentor, right? Figure
Mm-hmm.
out ways to have figured things out and talk to them.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Totally, I agree on that. And even when you have a lawyer, you have to take that lead. I also believe that everything is possible in the US. You just have to make it work. There is a way you can find it. And if one lawyer is saying no, you can talk to another lawyer and
Yeah.
ask in a different way and get it done. Yeah.
Definitely get an alternative opinion.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, was it worth it moving to the US?
Absolutely. Everybody, I mean, in India, you should at least come here, even if you don't get, the green card ever, right? Even if that's the thing, you should come here on STEM, right? You get CPT, you get OPT, you get OPT extension, then you get 6 year of H1B. All of that combined, it's still gonna make you a millionaire. So you better make $1 million here, and then you can go back to India, start your own business there, and you get so much experience. You meet people from around the world, right? I have my co-founder is Turkish, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have people from all over. I can't even name the countries, right?
Yeah.
It's like you meet so many different cultures, you learn so much. I would say if you can do it, you should do it, but be smart about it. Talk to somebody like what Umang is doing with this podcast, give sharing and telling you what it's really like. Not that, I have a great house in New Jersey and look what I'm doing US, but job opportunities, which is kind of tough now. Actually, I'm like much more distant now from the job market. I'm the hiring side, and I'm actually always looking for talent. There's always demand for talent, I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, I agree. Even if, let's say, right now there are so many layoffs, you just have to be in the AI space. Why don't you like learn skills in the AI space? Why don't you basically, even product managers who have like AI experience are in high demand. Whoever has AI knowledge right now is in high demand across the companies. Microsoft just laid off so many people and is also doing a second round of layoffs. They are still hiring AI engineers. So instead of being like negative about, hey, the job market is bad or like US, like it's not great as it was in 2020, learn the right skills and you will find a way. So that is how I believe one should approach it even in 2025. And I would also recommend that, yeah, coming to the US will definitely be worth it if you approach it the right way.
No, absolutely. I mean, even if AI is a fad, it's not gonna go away next year, right? There are real values being built, there are new skills being developed. So it's actually an opportunity for at least fresh grads to, companies love fresh grads too, I will take a young grad any time, any day over a 10-year experienced person just because the energy and positivity and what they bring to a table, right? And many that's true across Silicon Valley, that's true across Boston, New York, software companies. But you have to have that growth mindsets. You have to show that you can adapt and learn, right? You're not like fixed with this is what I know, this is what I know, this is what I can do. Can
Mhm.
you evolve your thinking? Can you learn those skills and can you communicate properly those things?
I agree. What was your lowest moment in the US journey?
Lowest. Hmm. Like in terms of work and immigration, if I have to say, so I got my EB1 approved on my second attempt. So there was a time where I built this company, right? And I had started it, and I was in a path where it was do or die, right?
Mhm.
I'm just going all in. So I started this on H1B and I was pursuing my EB1A. My first EB1A got an RFE. An RFE is a request for more evidence where officer says, yeah, I believe half of it, but I don't believe these things. Give me more evidence that you deserve this EB1A. So I got the RFE, and the RFE made no sense, and I was like very furious about it. And we answered the questions, and it got rejected. So when I talked to my lawyers, like, hey, some silly things there. They said like, there's no point of fighting it because you're never gonna win it by
Mhm.
arguing your point. I was like, what do you mean? Like, there's some clear facts here that they're saying not true, but I have the evidence. But there is no point fighting it, right? You'll go to a court and say that, okay, I said this, but they said it's not true. It'll take you 5 years and all that. And this is around the exact time when I thought, okay, I'll get a green card and I was taking this exit. I quit my job already. So I think about I think 3 days I was in a room, depressed. After 3 days, I said, let's file EB1 again. You can
Nice.
file your EB1A again. So I just used my same content for EB1A. I just used a different lawyer, better language,
Hmm.
and that got accepted in another 3 months.
Nice. And right
So
now you'll probably have a green card now, right?
yeah, then it takes 6 to 8 months after that, adjustment of status, to get your green card. Yeah.
Nice. That's great. What was more stressful, starting or managing your company in the US or navigating this entire like visa situation?
I tell everybody who speaks to me that your immigration problems are not even 10% of how hard a business is. Okay. So if you think immigration is the hard part, not really. Building a business is really hard. This is why people on H1B, if you can do that, don't worry about other things. You'll figure it out. It's very hard to build a revenue generating profitable business, not just revenue
Hmm.
generating. I mean, I can spend 100K on TikTok, get 100K installs on an app, and build revenue. That means nothing
Hmm.
to me unless you can make profits.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of people who appreciates that, and this country, US for sure, wants it. They desperately want businesses to make revenue. You will figure out ways after that.
Do you ever regret leaving India?
I mean, leaving, I mean, it's not like I have, I cannot go back there,
Yeah.
right? It's a long flight, though. It's a very
Yeah.
long flight. When were you there last, Umang?
I travel every year, so I
Yeah.
go and visit my family every year. So I was there like till this January, and then I came here.
Yeah, I went this year,
Hmm.
March, and then I didn't go like for 5, 6 years. So it was after 6 years I went this year
Hmm.
because the pandemic and my parents were here.
Okay.
But I miss Mumbai. I mean, there's nothing like, streets of Mumbai and
Hmm.
stuff like that. But I work with so many people in India, right? So many in my team. Right now in my company, I have a bunch of people in India working together. At a remote level, it feels like a small world if you think about it. Like, maybe who knows who's where? Like, we just work together.
Yeah.
But on the cultural level, I do think there's a drastic difference between
Hmm.
US and India.
Yeah. Totally.
Businesses work very differently in US. Like I
Hmm.
work with businesses in US, the way the interactions are, sometimes the situation of win-win. Businesses in India, like B2B deals, and much harder to do.
I agree. So, what are some of the misconceptions about the H-1B visa?
That you cannot start a business on H1B.
Hmm.
You can be a founder. That's number one. Second one is that you can also do concurrent H1B, right? So, which is you're working for a job here full time. You can also have another part-time H1B for a different entity. As a founder, you can do it because if you do concurrent, like part-time H1B, less hours, you have to pay yourself less money. So that's a good solution for a lot of people. H1B also, I don't think it's a misconception, I guess. H1B comes with H4 visa. So your spouse can also work in US. And then lastly, I'll say people think H1B is cheap. I don't think it is. I have made a lot of money on H1B, like very high salary. It comes with a lot of taxes. And the people, I mean, you work with TikTok, so in Seattle, right? So H1B draws a lot of very high salary. So I think people don't understand who thinks H1B is cheap labor.
Yeah, I think people who watch my Umong Abroad know that people can get a lot more salary on H-1B and on visas here in the US because I've interviewed people who are like directors and stuff too, and they're earning like over $1 million here. So, yeah.
In 2021, Umang, you won't believe it. It was, in the US, the economy goes in a cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, things are bad, just know it's going to be better. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like forever bad. Interest rate drives capital in the market. So, when 2021, capital was so high, everybody's hiring like crazy. And that's the highest salary I ever seen at that point. Fresh grads, if your audience wants to know, we hired fresh grads, like just like 21-year-old at like 125, 130K at that,
Yeah.
which was like, I don't think that, I don't know if that's true now, but that was the rate tech startups.
Like right now, LinkedIn, ByteDance, TikTok, like they hire fresh grads out of college as AI ML engineers for like over $200,000.
With equity, you're saying, right?
Yeah, total compensation. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying 130 base, right? And then equity
Yeah.
depends on your, startup
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
company, whatever. So that
Definitely.
was just like crazy,
I
crazy
agree.
time.
I also want to add one more thing into the misconception, which is like If you have the spouse and if you have your I-140 approved, like on H4, then you can start any business on that too. Not just they can work, they can start any business and you can be an investor into that. And technically, you can also contribute to that business.
Yes.
That is something people are not aware
I
of.
know people who do like Amazon businesses on H4, people who do Airbnb rentals. So like you have a property and you turn it into Airbnb, right? That's a business.
Yeah.
And people do that on H4.
Hmm.
So many people do that, right? It's just no brainer.
Is H-1B the best visa in the US for high-skilled immigrants?
No, there's O1. The benefit of O1A is, first of all, there's no lottery. H1B still has a lottery.
Hmm.
So anybody who's doing H1B for the first time, it's not a lottery all the time, but the first time you are ever getting H1B, you're competing with 100,000 people from Infosys and Tech Mahindra and I don't know, three other big consulting companies who flood the system, right? So which is kind of like not good for people who come all the way here, get a master's degree, pay so much money in school, and then they are given the same pool with this random applications. So that's the problem with H1B. That's why it's not the best. O1 skips all that. You can get an O1A visa from India or from anywhere else and start a company, join a company. And there, outside of India, if you're not in India, there are other visas too. That other visa people allow.
Give me top three resources for someone who wants to create the company on H1B in the US.
H1bfounders.com.
Hmm.
Go there, just meet the people. I mean, just so you know, in terms of resources, there are like actual founders there, right? It's not just articles you can read in WhatsApp. We chat, we talk about taxes, we talk about incorporations, and Manisha is hosting this thing. And just to say, she is from RIT. She did a master's in entrepreneurship, so she took over kind of like a community building role. We plan to do a lot more with that community to kind of build those resources because it doesn't exist, right? There's nothing that says you're an H1B, how do you start a business? It's kind of a very small Venn diagram. If I speak purely of software, Umang, I would start by reading some Peter Thiel or some other books, like Zero to One. Read that. Get into vibe coding. Start with there. Build an app. Start there.
Okay, that makes sense. In terms of overall resources, I would say instead of, I think, just searching all these things on YouTube and asking even ChatGPT and Grok regarding all of the rules regarding H1B visa, regarding founding a company on H1B visa, concurrent H1B visa, that can really help them get a lot more detailed information instead of trying to having calls like paid calls with lawyers first. So get all that information first as much as you can, and then once you are convinced, okay, yes, I have some plan, I can talk confidently to the lawyer, I know what I have to ask them, then schedule those calls and get the exact information that you're looking for. So I think that can also be a great resource and
No,
in
spot on.
2020.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, these days in 2025, access to all the expertise that everybody can ever imagine. You should argue with ChatGPT and put that
Yes.
into like deep think mode, right? Not 4.0.
Yeah.
Use the O3 model, make it deep think, query for you, and get the information for you.
Hmm.
And then ask it to two, three different AI. I treat AI as a counsel, a lawyer counsel, same question to three different AIs. And I see the results for each one of them. And then I can tell them. Then I give the same results to my lawyer. Like, hey, I got
Nice.
this. What do you think about it?
That's a great advice. I want to know like some advice questions now. So let's say you want to like study abroad and if you had to choose in 2025, US, Canada, Australia, or UK, what would you choose?
There is no market as good as US. So even if you go to UK or Australia, you will sell in US.
Yeah.
You will be selling your product in US.
Hmm.
Just come here instead, right? So I mean, my company makes most money here. You will find many interesting types of people in US because it attracts a lot of different varieties of people. And that's just the massiveness, right? US is vast. Umang is in Seattle. I'm in Boston. It'll take me like a 7 hour flight to get there. Right. And it's 3 hours behind me in time. Culture is so different. East Coast, West Coast. There's so much variety in this country that you just can't even imagine in going to a place like Australia with like a couple of hubs or Canada, for example, which, I have a Canadian co-founder who can't wait to come to US because salaries are higher in US, right? Ask a European software engineer how much they make and ask an American software engineer how much they make. It just day and night, right? So my biases are towards US, but do your own research.
Totally. If you are 22 in India or China right now, what would you do differently in 2025?
So, as a student who wants to grow, who are thinking about, I guess, making a name, ambition, making money, get some financial education as well, right? I don't think I was financially literate until I was in my 30s. It takes time and maturity. Just how does money work, right? What is economy? What is profit? It just opens your eyes and you start understanding the world better. But I'll go all in on AI right now. There isn't a better opportunity in life and leverage for younger people because you can outsmart everybody who is older than you. Everybody who has learned everything for the last 10 years is like obsolete in a way, right? So you come in with new skills and you bring your energy, good attitude, optimistic, good outlook. You are golden, man. Like people will hire you, you'll get money, accolades, you'll come and teach a company new tools, up to date, Gen Z stuff. Companies love this. People love to get this new energy, new information, new talent, and skills. It's already happening. I see that companies happening in Dubai. I was there. I was talking to an interior design company. They had like one person, and she was 21. Had one is teaching the entire interior design firm, which is about 15 years old company,
Hmm.
how to use Midjourney. One person. And she is like a rock star there, right?
Yeah.
Because they value her so much. So that can happen with a lot of you if you can bring those skill sets because it's evolving so fast. Nobody knows where AI is going to go in the next 5, 10 years. So you can really be ahead of everybody now.
Very solid advice. So I will now ask the question in the chat. So how early did you figure out or was convinced that your business model would be successful? As always, thanks for sharing your experience.
It's a good question because I can understand if you're asking this question, you're already very deep into where you ask those questions, right? So couple of ways to think about it. One is when you have a business, right? So let's say I'm a software business. I'm selling something. There's some demand. There's a pain point. People have a pain, right? So where are they going with that pain? Let's say they're going to Google and searching that thing, or they go to App Store and they're typing, "I want to paint my wall. I want to see what color my wall looks like," right?
Hmm.
So if you work backwards from that, you start thinking about what is the search volume of that pain point? How many people actually do that search? Okay, you can get that data, right? And what are similar searches? So what I did for Renovate AI is figure out what is the search volume of these top keywords: exterior design, paint my house, remodel my house, right? Who are the existing players? Because competition is what will kill you. If not today, not tomorrow, just know that there's no idea that's unique. It's not like you're going to have a business idea and nobody else is going to figure it out. You're going to have
Yeah.
15 businesses with exactly the same idea, doing exactly what you are doing. So your advantage has to be either you be super unique, right? You got to have a differentiator in what you do, or you figure out a distribution strategy in which you can be in front of users cheaper than how what other people can manage, right? Which could be through alliances, through partnerships, through whatever ways you can distribute. So let's take an app example because you might understand that. App Store is a $1 trillion economy. So think about that for a second, right? It's bigger than most countries. On App Store
True.
alone, people are spending $1 trillion every year. If it's a market, you want to open a shop in the market. What's the first thing you will do? You'll figure out what are they buying. Like people are going to this market, what are they buying? Okay, so I figured that out. Okay, what are they buying? And I can sell really good hamburgers, but there are too many hamburger stalls. I can do a really good, I don't know, like avocado based hamburger with corn salsa, right? Because people, there's a demand for it. So I figured the volume of search, you can quantify those things, right? Then you build an app for it. It's kind of like back and forth. I had an app idea and then AI was coming. So, okay, how can I leverage AI in that? So technology plays a role as well because now I know a new avocado has come out that nobody else has. So I can sell this hamburger nobody else has. So you do all this math and calculation and you put it out, and you see can I get those customer in front of my stalls, which is if people actually search for avocado hamburger, does your app show up on App Store? That's called
Mhm.
app for optimization, similar as search engine optimization, right? Once you get that keyword, right, people will download your app. There's no way they will not. So you get a download. Now, if people
Mhm.
download your app, Can you take them through an onboarding flow that they will actually pay you? What is the value? Did you actually deliver a hamburger, right? What you told.
Mm-hmm.
So you do this. It won't. It's not complicated. Once you do it a couple of times, so it will take you 2 3 months to figure out an idea, make it concrete. You'll mold it. You'll turn it. You'll figure those things out. Once you can figure out your customer acquisition cost is lower than the money they're paying. So let's say it takes me $2 to get one install, and I get 100 installs, so that's $200. And I get 10 people to pay me money. But then that's 10 people are paying $20 each. That's $200 again. So I make my money back. That's a business, right? Because you can always optimize after that. You can always
Mm-hmm.
make your retention higher, conversion higher, product better. But you have a business. People are giving you money. And that's what happened with me. Question, we figured out what is our customer acquisition cost, what are they paying, and what we did is, and this is a really clever trick, is we start selling them yearly plans instead of buying like a weekly subscription. If people pay you for 1 year today, you get like a money up front. Your LTV, the lifetime value of a customer, becomes really high, so you can expand more.
This was super valuable, honestly.